Hey guys, it's Amy. Welcome to the Power Network. Tonight we're marking 30 years since Jodi Huisentruit vanished. One of the core true crime cases I've always followed. I don't know why, but I've always felt deep down that it was a fan who did this to her. And that thought has always haunted me for decades. The fact she was right there at her car, dragged away, it's every woman's nightmare, I tell you. So tonight we're diving back in 30 years later to see what we can find. I'm going to roll credits while we wait for the rest of the power crew to roll in. Shout out to my dragonflies. Love you, babies.
Cavalier's drumming his old guitar again. Words rolling out into our fire. If heaven had wings, I would steal them and fly away with you for a while. Hearing the essence of gratitude, your dreamy little smile on my lips. I miss my cue, but baby, I had you. Miss my cue, but I had you for that day.
Hearing the essence of gratitude, it is so good to be here with you guys today. I kept saying tonight on my intro because I'm used to doing these at night, but I wanted to pop on here and do a daytime live, and I've had this Jodi Huisentruit live scheduled for a while, but I have autoimmunes and I was going through it, so but I have it ready. I wanted to take a look at it. It is the 30-year anniversary. As I said in the intro, this has always been one of the cases I've followed, kind of kept my eye on. It's always been an upsetting case to me. Jodi was an American news anchor for KIMT in Mason City, Iowa. She disappeared in the early mornings of June 27th, 1995. Soon after telling a colleague that she had overslept and she was running late for work. She was an online news anchor and she was due to be at work, and she simply never showed up. So it has always rented space in my true crime brain. This is one of the cases that I would love to see solved. I do see that they have 4 suspects. We're going to go over the case, kind of look at where it was, where it is now. I've got some video and some news stories to read. I will be catching my own self up with this case as we go along. It is something that I've been watching, but it's been a good year since I've caught myself up on it. So I'm really looking forward to it. Doing this with you guys. Hi, Drew K. Oh, so you've been following it too. I think it was the neighbor that had a thing for her, but there are other possibilities due to the time of day she disappeared. Somebody left a message. Like I said, I scheduled this about a week ago and I've had to postpone it. And so now I'm finally doing it. But I do see like an old post from my cat's mom, and they seem to think what you think. I bet if anyone looked at her fan mail or people living or working in her apartment complex, the culprit is among them. So with a missing women's cases, it could be anybody, couldn't it? But usually it's somebody that's following them or knows them, or it's just not something random. Because she was literally dragged away. There's like heel marks by her car where she was dragged away. The key was bent in the car. Yeah. It's terrifying to me. Literally, like, it's like I fear being snatched. I have these fears. I think that's why I'm in true crime, because I want to know what my, what my game plan would be in these kind of situations. But being attacked in my sleep or being attacked out, like drug away, uh, a female human, if you're a female human, I'm sure all of us have had these fears or these ideas in our minds, like, what would we do? And I mean, what happened to Jodi is my worst nightmare. But so before we get started, I'm going to do that algorithm dance party that I like to do. So if you could just warm up your fingers and dance them right up to the hearts and thumbs up button, just show us love on the platform you're watching us on today. We're coming to you on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. So hi, y'all. Happy morning. It is a daytime live, so you might hear a little chirping and a tweeting and a something in the back. That's my little bird. He likes to put his two tweets in on the cases here and there. So he's playing in his closet right now. I leave the door open. I don't shut him in the closet, but he likes to play in the closet. So he's in there right now. So hopefully that will keep him occupied. But you might hear some noises in the background. Okay, so let me get my stage all set up and we will get going. Okay. So we're just going to watch a little basic intro into the case. This is for all my beauties that don't know about it and aren't familiar. Hopefully you will like this case because I would like to dig into it a little bit more. Be one of the cases that I do some deep dives into. It is a fascinating case. One of the biggest fascinations to me is that she was like a small town public figure, and that fascinates me. You saw the notifications and came running. Oh, good. Yeah, sometimes the neighbor is too obvious, but remember that case where it was the law student and it was the neighbor that was filming outside of her house and was stalking her and was, had stole the key. What was that case? I can't think of the case's name. But he was a law student. She was a law student. I mean, yes, Stephen McDaniel or something like that. Yeah. So it was somebody obsessed with her. I feel like the guy that was her friend, the older gentleman, I feel like that's the too obvious, that one's too obvious. But and we're also going to another part of this was there is a rapper that did a song about her, and I thought that was fascinating too. That, I mean, there was even a musical, a convicted R Word speaks out from prison and denied the connection, but even a rapper who did a song about her. I think it was called Stiffin and Tiffin or something like that. But anyway, we're going to go into all that. I've got that news article pulled up. But let's start out with just dipping into the basics and getting everybody familiar with the case. Now, I will put everything that we watch down in the YouTube show notes. We do this to cite our sources and for fair play use. I will stop and start or possibly not read everything that we view, but don't worry, it's all down there in the show notes if you ever want to do it on your own or you need those sources or whatever you need. So here we go.
In the first few months, police looked closely at several people for possible connections to the abduction. Tonight, we focus on one man, Tony Dewan Jackson. 21 at the time, Jackson worked in Mason City and lived near the station where Jodi worked. Jackson's current address is Oak Park Heights, a maximum security prison in Minnesota. He was arrested in February of 1998 for 4 rapes in the Twin Cities area. is currently serving a 40-year sentence for statutory rape. It was a rap song that he had penned in the winter of 1999 that drew law enforcement attention to Jackson. In Jackson's rap, the phrase "stiffin' in tiffin" seemed to allude to the Huisentruit case. The discovery of the song's lyrics led lawmen to farmer Doug Campbell, who directed authorities to an old silo in Tiffin, Iowa.
One day, Johnson County Deputy Mike Sheets stopped out, and he read me.
Actually isn't the one that I thought. We're actually going into the rapper now, so I'll just do the rapper right away. This is one of the suspects in the case, and then I'll backtrack it and start it from the beginning. Sorry about that, you guys.
This rap that he came up with somewhere. As I understand it, it came from somebody who was in prison. Then he started asking questions about what place around here.
I've changed my mind. I'm going to do this when I do the lineup of the suspects. So I do want to start out with going into the basics of the case. So,
from Mason City, Iowa, disappears on her way to work. Now, nearly 30 years after Jodi vanished, new tips have led investigators to a property in Minnesota, west of Minneapolis. Mason City Police confirming the search in Winstead. According to the group FindJodi.com, the search centered around some land surrounding a construction site where an apartment complex is being built. We're going to have more on that search, and you're also going to hear from a private investigator on the case who says he has narrowed down the list of suspects. That is coming up in just a moment. First, though, several updates on other missing cases that we're following. A tragic end to the disappearance of Eve.
Okay, let's move it forward. So we're at Jodi
series, and here now with more on the case is News Nation's Rich McHugh.
You're watching KMT's Morning 1 hour morning time. I've got some urgent news to tell you. Thank you so much for joining us.
27-year-old Jodi Huisentruit had a bright future in TV news.
It's like bringing triplets home from the hospital. Tragedies like this aren't supposed to take place. You have a doozy of a time, let me tell you. June 15th already. I was making top stories locally. You're listening to me? Okay, I got it.
What's your name first?
Jodi Huisentruit. Jodi Huisentruit and Jodi Huisentruit.
But on June 27, 1995, the hopes and dreams of the hometown TV anchor mysteriously faded to black. The morning news anchor was due at Mason City's KIM TV at 3:30 a.m. to anchor Daybreak. By 4 a.m., her producer Amy Coons called her.
So by 4, she wasn't in. So I called her. Obviously, I'd woken her up. Didn't seem anything out of the ordinary. Just, Jode, where are you? Oh, what time is it? I'm like, it's 4 o'clock. You coming into work? I'll be right there.
It was the last time anyone spoke with Jodi. She never showed up for work that morning. They called police to check on her.
By the time I got here to the station, it wasn't just a case of Jodi was ill or Jodi overslept. It was, there's police at her parking lot, Doug, and they're looking at it as a possible crime scene. You know, that just stops you in your tracks. And crime scene, what the heck?
Mason City Police said they arrived at her apartment complex after 7, found nothing unusual inside Jodi's second-floor apartment. But outside, the officer found signs of a struggle next to her car, still parked there. The key to her red Mazda Miata bent. Her hairdryer, earrings, and hairspray found scattered on the ground nearby.
The information that we have acquired today and over the investigation would certainly lead us to believe it's possibly a foul play disappearance.
As search crews scoured the area, the people of Mason City on edge.
No, it hit home. Makes you feel bad to see somebody like that so young. She went to my church. We just lost $1 million of her.
It's very difficult for everyone in Mason City. We're just hoping that someone calls from, let's say, Colorado and says, hey, we found her. She's fine. She's on her way home. That's what I hope.
A Mason City police lieutenant said that they found the toilet seat was in the up position in Jodi's apartment, raising questions if she had a male visitor. But the police chief told the local Globe Gazette the next day they found no evidence that anyone was with her prior to her disappearance. Another Mason City police official later said there were no eyewitnesses to her disappearance and very little forensic evidence was found at the crime scene. A partial palm print was obtained from Jodi's car and a strand of hair was also discovered. In the weeks leading up to her disappearance, Jodi had spent time at nearby lakes, boating and partying with friends, among them John Van Sice, a man 20 years her senior, who'd named...
This is the man that I was talking about that seems a little too obvious to me as the suspect.
His boat after her.
I remember him throwing her that birthday party shortly before she disappeared.
That was on June 9th. Coons says that on the morning of the 27th, when Jodi disappeared, before they even realized she was gone, she received a call in the newsroom.
But the phone rang at 7:20, and I thought, oh my God, I don't have time for this. Picked it up. Hi, is Jodi there? No, Jodi's not here. Can I ask who's calling? This is John. I'm like, okay, John, what do you need? He said, well, where's Jodi? What's going on? Is she there? Is she sick? What's going on? I'm like, John, I don't know. All I know is she's not here. I gotta go. Click.
Later that morning, Jodi's friends, including John Van Cise, arrived at her apartment complex. Police say Van Cise told him he was the last person to see Jodi alive, that she had come to his apartment the night before to watch a video of the birthday party he threw her weeks earlier in Clear Lake. She was in good spirits when she left here, Van Cise told the Des Moines Register. He also said police interviewed him and gave him a lie detector test, which he says he passed.
I've been in the police station a lot, talking to him. I gave him all the information I could possibly give him. I tried to help as much as I possibly could. I've been able to verify where I've been, my time. That's not a problem. And he called me at night and asked me a couple of questions. No problem. I'll do anything I can to help. Anything I can to help.
DCI and the FBI joined the investigation. The focus turned to a man who lived 2 blocks away from KIM-TV, convicted serial rapist Tony Jackson, and another convicted sex offender, Tom Korskadin. Mason City police interviewed both men, both denied involvement, and were later ruled out by police. It also raised new questions about a police report Jodi filed the year before she disappeared, claiming she was being followed by someone in a white truck. Jodi was never found, and no one has ever been charged in her disappearance.
Is it safe to say this is a homicide investigation? We still have it classified as a missing persons case, and until there's evidence that would point us in a different direction, that's the angle that we work from.
It's safe to say this is Iowa's most famous unsolved case. What makes this case so difficult to solve?
The challenge is the age of the case. I think, there's no way to go back and preserve record. Technology was clearly different when this happened back in 1985.
I have often wondered, why can they not solve this case with all of our technology? Why do you think it's an age thing? Because they are solving older cases now.
There's just challenges to going back and essentially recreating the past.
What is ultimately going to solve this case? Is it like one more piece of a puzzle? Like what are we looking for here?
I think there are a few different things that could help us with this and that could be useful. Certainly there's a wish list for us, but I don't think that's anything we discuss publicly at this point.
The ground search for Jodi on day one included about 20 members of law enforcement, and by the end of the day Tuesday, search dogs from points all over Iowa. This is when Mason City police publicly confirmed that Jodi's disappearance could possibly involve foul play, but there was still no mention of abduction.
Scott Fuller is a member of Find Jodi, an all-volunteer team of journalists and former law enforcement created in 2003 by 2 TV journalists, Josh Benson and Gary Peterson, to bring awareness to Jodi's case.
And I also was going to say, I am surprised that not more news journalists don't follow or, support this, because it seems like it would be one of your own. So you would want to keep it in the news, but it's good to see that that's indeed what's happening.
The hope being somebody has some information they've been reluctant to share, or they may not even know they have information that might relate to Jodi's case, and that the introduction through TV or the internet is enough to bring them forward to the police and give that last piece of information that they need.
Find Jodi has produced over 30 podcasts, hosted events to appeal for information. They've even put up billboards asking residents of Mason City not to sit in silence and to come forward. They've also done their own digging on the people who've been questioned over her disappearance, including John Van Cise.
We know that the police are very interested in Van Cise, or at least have been recently. There was a search warrant that was...
It's a real problem with John Van Cise, though, because he was old when this started. I think he was like somewhere in his 50s. And so now he's dealing with, I think, dementia or Alzheimer's or something like that. So even if he is the guilty one, he's never going to be held accountable for it. So there's that, too.
Executed on John Van Cise.
Authorities convened a grand jury in 1997, according to LaDonna Woodford, a friend of Van Cise, who says she testified for 5 hours. In addition to the 2017 search warrant, which remains sealed, authorities convened another grand jury in 2017, for which Van Cise was subpoenaed to testify. He was also asked to provide finger and palm prints to the grand jury. Grand jury proceedings are not public. We do not know the outcome, but it's safe to assume he was not indicted.
To explain the outcome of either of those grand juries? No, that's not something those would be confidential court proceedings, and I wouldn't be at liberty to comment on those.
In April of 2019, Van Cise came forward and issued 2 statements via an intermediary saying he had absolutely no involvement in the apparent abduction of his friend Jodi Huisentruit. He denied having a romantic relationship with Jodi and said that since her disappearance, he has fully cooperated with all local, state, and federal law enforcement officials. He says he has been the subject of 2 voluntary polygraph tests and DNA testing. He also disclosed he had recently been diagnosed with moderate and advancing Alzheimer's disease, a claim we cannot independently verify. Back in Mason City, Chief Brinkley insists they are continuing to work the case.
We haven't stopped. We're still working on this. I think it's something that we want to be absolutely certain about at the point that we would make a move on something. And at that point, with the county attorney having some game plan for how to move ahead. And so I think we'll be very deliberate about how we handle that. We're being very deliberate about that now, particularly as we get different questions about who parties are or are not possible suspects. And we want to be very careful about that because we'll need to answer all of those questions as well in a court of law at some point, we hope.
Sounds like you're getting close.
I think that we have some working theories that we continue to work on.
I mean, that's like exciting news. And this was 8 months ago, this news report. So, or was it 8 months? How many months ago was it? 7 months ago. Sorry.
Jodi's family had her declared deceased in 2001. A tree they planted in her honor now stands quite tall in front of KAM TV, and the community desperately wants some closure.
I'm tired of this. We need to know what happened. I feel like, I don't think she'll ever be found, but I think we're close to maybe having some answers. I hope.
I agree with her. I don't think she's ever going to be found, but
Joining me now is licensed private investigator Steve Ridge. He has been investigating Jodi's case pro bono since 2019, but has been following this case since 1995 when Jodi disappeared. Steve, thank you so much for joining us. First of all, I want to talk about this search in Winstead, Minnesota.
Hey guys, if I could just ask you, if you like my content, if you could share it. YouTube is trying to work on their community section. So if you could just share my live to your community page, that would help me out tremendously. If you're over on Facebook, you can just share it to your page or a group or something like that. I'm not really sure how you do it over on Twitch. I'm pretty new. Like, I'm not new to Twitch, but I haven't really explored Twitch. So if you're an expert Twitcher, if you could just do it how you do it over there, that would be great.
3 hours from Mason City and also about 100 miles from where Jodi grew up. Anything you can share about this search and the tips that led police there?
Well, yes, I can tell you that actually this is one of dozens of tips that have been followed up on that did not get public publicity, if you will. And I think the fact that this one got public kind of forced it into prominence, if you will. The reason for the search there was that it tied back to an individual that had been looked at one point. Whether anything came out of that remains to be seen. It did not appear that there is much optimism on the part of the Mason City Police Department that pursuing that is going to help very much.
So was this the most recent search? Have there been others, and where else have tips led investigators to look?
Yes, there have been other searches, and they've generally been quiet. They've not been public. There have been, in addition to official searches, there have been some private searches, which I've been a party to. I have directed a team on several occasions, but the focus has been within a 26-mile radius of the key apartments where Jodi lived. Based on all of the information I have gathered, I believe that her remains are within that scope.
And what makes you think that, Steve?
Well, I have pretty good information that's pretty in-depth about the timing, the time frame, the amount of time for potential disposal of a body or of remains. And I'm just very confident that that was the case. And that's why we have focused some resources on trying to dig down and see if we could locate anything.
Part of the problem with this case is it's 30 years old. Over the course of the last few years, as you have investigated, have you come across new evidence?
Well, yes, I've continued to find new things about this case. It's kind of like the branches on a tree that grow out ever so slowly, and one branch turns into 3 and into 5 and into 10. And I do find that I get additional input, not necessarily solicited, by the way. I have encouraged people with tips to contact one source, and that's the Mason City Police Department, because I think that's where the tips belong. However, invariably, people do reach out to me, and they often express concern that they do not have confidence or trust in local authorities. And so I do log and follow up on all of those points along the way.
Where does that distrust come from, and is it warranted?
Well, I think it comes from the very foundation of the case back in '95. There was a lot of speculation around then Chief Schleifer. His wife was the one who, after he left the department, anonymously sent the local newspaper a copy of Jodi's diary. That only reinforced.
Right. I forgot about that. Of course, there's been some police misconduct in this. I forgot all about that.
People's minds that something not right was going on in the Mason City Police Department. And unfortunately, in the years subsequent, I mean, we're on our 6th police chief since then. So it's really difficult to establish a degree of continuity as it relates to the police chief, as it relates to the lead detectives assigned to the case, or to the people from the DCI, the state, or FBI. And I've dealt with all of them. And that's that's more than a dozen people that have touched this case.
We have also spoken with local police recently and have reached out to them more recently about some of these developments. How much are you in touch with them, and how much are they open to sharing about the case and particularly this new search?
They are very tight-lipped in general, and I think only the fact that this search turned out to be publicly identified sort of forced a comment in terms of what was going on. But the police chief was very careful to say that any information gleaned would be, integrated into the ongoing investigation. But that, of course, could include virtually no information or none of value when you say any information gleaned. So I think he felt the obligation to comment. But I think that in general, they just prefer to keep a lid on this case as they, work their way through it.
As you mentioned, that 26-mile radius from Jodi's apartment where you believe her remains could be, where have you searched and where would you be looking now?
Well, I can tell you that typically our searches have been in and around bodies of water, and there are a tremendous number of bodies of water in that 26-mile radius. So, that's a real struggle. It's
very interesting that they don't feel like she's too far away from where she was actually taken. Like 26 miles isn't that far.
We had pretty specific information from some people, informants, sources, tipsters, that led us to conclude there were some pretty good specific locations. We have not disclosed those. I almost always forward to the police department any efforts and work that we do. I don't expect to hear back from them. It's just meant to be input for them. I have, in fact, met with all 3 representatives of the police department, the FBI, the DCI, but there's an arm's length relationship here, and I have respect for what they're doing, and I believe that they respect the nature of my work, which is a private venture, and may generate more cooperation from people that do not want to go public.
Understood. What leads you to believe, Steve, that she could be in some water somewhere, or was at that time?
Yeah, good question.
Well, I have pretty good information that not only is she in water, but that there is a very specific type of weight that has been used to weigh down her body at the time, which unfortunately...
I wonder if he has any information on how this all happened.
Would take the remains very, very deeply, probably to the low point in any body of water, and certainly well below all of the ensuing, dirt and rust and fill that would, typically gather over time. So I think that does reduce the chances of a successful recovery pretty substantially, below 50%.
That is very specific, which leads me to my next question for you, Steve. You believe you've narrowed a list of suspects down to 4 people. What more can you share?
Well, I can tell you that this has been a process of elimination, and I started with a very broad net and no real, sort of preconceived notion or even hypothesis about what happened. And so that net was as wide as 23 or 24 people that just needed to be examined. And over time, I've essentially dismissed about 20 of them, and I still have 4 that I'm looking at. But I will tell you that there is one individual among that 4 that is definitely at the top of my list.
As our piece laid out, John Van Cise was a friend of Jodi's. He's been questioned multiple times. He claims that he's had a lie detector test. Is he on your list?
I can't confirm or deny whether John is on my list, but I can tell you pretty confidently that he is very high on the list of the police. They obviously have continued to reseal the search warrant from 2017 and 2018, searching his vehicles and requesting that he appear before a jury. Unfortunately, John's health is very, very bad at this point. I can tell you for the first time publicly that he is permanently incapacitated. I just have that information as of this morning. So there very likely would not be a route for prosecution of somebody that cannot aid in their defense.
Has he always maintained his innocence even before, as you mentioned, now he is unable to do so?
Oh, yes, absolutely. When I first met him, I made 4 trips out to Arizona, to the Phoenix area.
I can't gauge if he thinks John did it or not. Like, I almost feel like he's not on his list. But if he wasn't on his list, wouldn't he just say, John's not on my list? You know what I mean?
And eventually,
I actually don't like these type of games.
Won the confidence of he and his wife, and they spoke with me. I visited his residence. I examined his vehicles to see if any tracking devices had been placed on them, which was another theory that perhaps the reason he was brought back to Iowa was they hoped that he would revisit the scene of the crime or possibly the location of the remains. And the chief was quoted as saying that venture did not, quote, pan out. Now, what he meant by that, he has not defined, but I think it's pretty clear from my work that they were hoping that John might not be able to let go of checking on the site if he was going to be back in the state of Iowa.
Have you ruled him out on your list?
Pardon me?
Have you ruled John Van Cise out as a possibility?
I can't say that I've ruled him out. No, so.
Okay, I know.
Okay, so the way I think I'm getting this is he's on the list, but he's not the top of the list. What do you guys think? And this is all my opinion for entertainment, educational purposes only. I urge you to go out and do your own research. But what do you guys think? That's the vibe I'm picking up.
There's only so much you can share. I'll leave that there for now. You also mentioned, Steve, that there was a secret boyfriend that Jodi had somewhere along the lines and may have played a role in this case.
I was just going to say, no woman leaves her toilet seat up like that. There was a man in her apartment.
Just in terms of him being present, what more can you tell us about a boyfriend that she may have had? That's the first I'd heard of that.
Well, that's probably the single most important thing that I've uncovered, frankly. And it was known to, this gentleman was known to police, but wasn't even known to some of her closest friends, which is very interesting. She met this gentleman on a Saturday night in a bar, would be 2 Saturdays before she went missing.
It's not so surprising to me, seeing as that she was a well-known figure and she probably wanted to keep it to herself for as long as she could before people found out, you know what I mean? Or it was somebody that was married or somebody she knew people wouldn't approve of, but I guess we're about to find out.
Together no less than 5 times in person that final 10 days. They had dinner, they played golf, they had drinks out on his patio, they had daily phone contact. I mean, it was a whirlwind relationship. And I can tell you that that was witnessed, the beginning of that relationship was witnessed by someone. And this is part of why I believe that
is he on the list?
Basically jealousy is the reason for Jodi's abduction. I'm not necessarily saying that the individual went there with the intent of abducting her, but he certainly went there with the intent of confronting her. Things may have quickly escalated out of control. And, whether it was accidental or not, I think that she ended up deceased very quickly.
Steve, with all of the investigating,
is he saying that it was this new guy that possibly he stayed over and she, maybe she was running late and she was going out to the car and they were fighting and there was some kind of jealousy escalation? Or is he saying that whoever was jealous of the new guy.
That you have done. I know you're in touch with the family. You have their blessing as you look into this case. Do you believe all these years later?
I'm not going to ask that question. What do you guys think? Do you think, which scenario was it? Was it the new guy jealousy, or was it another guy jealous over the new guy? I'm sorry, I'm going to have to listen to that story again.
And it was known to, this gentleman was known to police, but wasn't even known to some of her closest friends, which is very interesting. She met this gentleman on a Saturday night in a bar, would be 2 Saturdays before she went missing. They were together no less than 5 times in person that final 10 days. They had dinner, they played golf, they had drinks out on his patio, they had daily phone contact. I mean, it was a whirlwind relationship. And I can tell you that that was witnessed. The beginning of that relationship was witnessed by someone. And this is part of why I believe that basically jealousy is the reason for Jodi's.
He just said it was witnessed by someone, and then he goes into jealousy. So was the person that witnessed it, did he become jealous of the relationship, or was it the new guy that was jealous? I don't think I'm going to get the answer here.
Abduction. I'm not necessarily saying that the individual went there with the intent of abducting her, but he certainly went there with the intent of confronting her. Things may have quickly escalated out of control, and you know, whether it was accidental or not, I think that she ended up deceased very quickly.
Steve,
what do you guys think? If you're listening, even in the replay crew, put down in the comments, what do you think? Is it the new guy that did it, or is it another guy jealous of the new guy?
With all of the investigation,
run space in my head
that you have done, I know you're in touch with the family. You have their blessing as you look into this case. Do you believe all these years later that Jodi's disappearance and who is responsible for it is solvable?
I think that it is solvable if you define solvable as resolvable. That is to eventually disclose the identity of the person, which I am hell-bent on doing one way.
Isn't that solvable? I mean, she's not saying, are we going to get Jodi back? I don't think anybody in the right mind thinks Jodi's still alive.
For another, but in terms of solving it, that technically would require a conviction, and I am increasingly less confident that there'll ever be a conviction.
When it comes to see, that makes me think he thinks it's John because John's incapacitated. So is it because there's the new guy? Okay, Jodi's got this new guy and John figures it out. That's what I'm getting now.
To the local community, the findjodi.com group has put up billboards. How has the small, tight-knit community of Mason City played a role in this? And if, in fact, you're right, and she is somewhere within 26 miles of her apartment, that there's somebody in that community who knows something?
Well, without a doubt. I will tell you that there are 3 individuals who I have tried to reach, and before that, there were about 6 individuals that were very hard to reach, but finally did open up to me and gave me some really good information. But there are 3 more that remain exceptionally quiet. They don't want to talk about anything. I think they have information, but obviously, I mean, I put up a reward that went as high as $100,000 and they didn't come forward. So there's some reason why they felt they can't come forward and disclose information, probably because they would self-implicate themselves in some way related to this case.
And does that reward still stand?
It's a $50,000 reward right now. I had increased it to $100,000 for the last anniversary. I think almost without a doubt, if there's no more progress, that will probably go back up to $100,000 after the first of the year, going into the 25th anniversary. But I'm less confident every day that any amount of money is going to bring resolution. I think it's more likely that someone's conscience is going to get to them, or a deathbed confession or something like that.
And what is your message to anyone out there who knows something?
Well, I think I would strongly encourage them to reach out to the Mason City Police Department, because unless the information goes directly to the department or the DCI or the county attorney's office, or I suppose the Attorney General's cold case unit, it's probably not going to make its way into any kind of a prosecutorial condition.
So to me, I'm feeling like it was John and he was jealous. Here's the phone number right here for the Mason City Police, and I will put the link down in the description. Sub Rosa says John thought he was going to be the older man boyfriend and he didn't like that. She was dating a man her own age. Yeah, this is sounding more and more like, you know, a little light bulb going on, a little light bulb moment here. It does sound like it was actually John. So maybe sometimes when it's like the most obvious, it's because it's the most obvious because it's the one that did it. Let's keep going. I want to take a look at a news conference that was 8 days ago. Hold on. Yeah, 8 days ago. Friends and family member Jodi Huisentruit, 30 years after her disappearance. This here says what happened to Jodi Huisentruit. Oh, this is actually the promo. Hold on a second.
We're here to welcome you today to honor Jodi Huisentruit on the 30th anniversary of her abduction on her way to go to work here at KIMT. And Find Jodi's J.L. Barrio was here with me last summer, but unfortunately he passed away just 5 months later, still working from his hospital bed just weeks before he passed away, and we dearly miss him. So many lives were forever changed 30 years ago this morning. That day, someone stopped Jodi from going to work, stopped her from continuing her life after just 27 short years. But he'll never stop us at Find Jodi from continuing to look for him, continue to keep Jodi visible. And we want him to know we're not going anywhere. This morning, we'll hear from some of Jodi's closest friends and colleagues. They will share their stories, and it's a very difficult day, obviously, but in their grief, they will share some of their anecdotes. They'll be honest about some of the pain they've gone through. And I just hope collectively we can get through this all together. We will also hear from the Mason City Police Chief, Jeff Brinkley, who will address the crowd about what do we need now? What do we need so we're not here a year from now doing this again? So we appreciate your joining us as well. We're going to begin with a statement from Jodi's family. Katie, the family is very grateful for all of you gathered here today. It's obviously too difficult to be here in person, but they have a message we want to start with. Katie?
Jodi was also her mother was quite old when she had Jodi. So her sister was quite a bit older than her. She was like the surprise oopsie baby that came along. So a lot of Jodi's family, well, her mother has passed, and I don't know if Jodi's sister is still alive, but she's getting up there in age as well. So I think she was like John's age when in her 50s when Jodi died, or maybe in her 40s. So
hard to fully comprehend that it has now been 30 years since our dear Jodi was so senselessly taken from us. 30 years since we last saw her smile, heard her infectious laugh, or had a chance to hug her and tell her how much we love her. 30 years of her not being here with us to share in milestone events and make memories together. 30 years of pure anguish and torture, dealing with the loss of our Jodi and trying to find answers to what happened to her 30 years ago today. Jodi lived her life as an optimist, and she had a great passion for living life to the fullest. She was a bright light who made the world around her better just by being in it. Her kindness and heart were unmatched, and she had an innate ability to make those she met feel seen, heard, and valued. She had such a bright future ahead of her, and she should be here now, living out her dreams. Our sincerest gratitude to all who have worked tirelessly on Jodi's case and continue to do so, including law enforcement and Find Jodi. We will never be able to say thank you enough, and we wholeheartedly appreciate your dedication to finding Jodi and solving her case. To all of Jodi's friends, a huge thank you for the love and support you have provided us over the last 30 years. From interviews to establishing a foundation in Jodi's name, you have been our support system on this journey, and we are eternally grateful to all of you for your encouragement and for helping out whenever it was needed. Jodi always told us she had the most loyal friends, and you all have certainly proven her right. Finally, a big thank you to everyone who has shown up here today and all who have supported us and continue to have interest in Jodi, her story, and in seeing her case be resolved. Please know your interest and support mean the world to us. The pain and anguish felt by us and all who love Jodi are immeasurable. True peace will only be given to us when Jodi is found and justice is served to her. We know it's hard to have hope for resolution after so many years, but we still choose to hope that one day soon it will happen. Some days that choice is harder than others, but we will always choose hope and invite everyone else to join us in this. To anyone out there who has key information that could lead us to Jodi to help solve this case, we beg you, please come forward and not make us continue to wait for answers. 30 years is 30 years too long to wait for resolution. We implore you, if you know something, say something. Help us finally bring Jodi home. Thank you.
You know, and it also just dawned on me that John was a boater, and this guy in this last video said that he was sure it was in water. So I'm almost positive now they think it's John.
First speaker was one of Jodi's closest friends here in Mason City. Ani Cruz and Jodi spent the weekend before Jodi's abduction on a water skiing trip with friends. 2 days later, Jodi was gone. Ani's going to joining us with some of her journey, what she's dealt with, and some of her fond memories of Jodi. Thank you.
Thank you. So I met Jodi when she was young and she was covering our American Heart Association golf tournament. Here she was, this bright, blonde-haired, lovely lady walking across the course, lugging big camera gear, similar to what some of you gentlemen have here. We clicked instantly, and I'm a little bit short, and it was as if we had known each other forever. Her smile lit up a room, her laugh was contagious, and she was kind to everyone she met, any age group. From that point on, Jodi would call me at 9 a.m. and ask what we were going to do that evening, and we'd make our evening plans. 2 young women in a newer town.
Jodi was one of those people that was always full of life, like going. I wasn't one of those people, but I had a best friend that was like that. So she kept me going. Like one of the people like, what are we going to do tonight? You know, let's go. We got to go. And people that are kind of like sluggish like me kind of need people like that in their lives that are hyperactive. And people that are hyperactive kind of need slugs like me in their life.
Finding our place and our people together. We enjoyed riding our bikes from Mason City to Clear Lake, around the lake, and back to Mason City. We boated, we skied. Well, she skied. I was terrible, and she was great at it. She was an amazing skier. And we tracked down every half-price appetizer in town because we weren't making much money.
Well, I'm going to link this down in the description. This just looks like it's something where they're honoring Jodi, which is really beautiful. I want to go on and look at this news report where it says Jodi Huisentruit suspect list down to 4. Is it the same interview or is it a different interview? I think it's a different interview. Hold on one second. Okay, it is a different interview. So hold on one second.
We want to bring in someone who's been tracking this case extensively. Private investigator.
Same guy, but different news reporter.
Steve Ridge. Steve, thanks for making the time tonight.
Good to be with you. Thanks for having me.
And this week, you gave News Nation exclusive, never before heard details on this case. One of the biggest revelations revolving around one of the leading suspects, John Van Cise. Can you share that with our audience?
Yeah, I can tell you that I've learned conclusively that John is now essentially, permanently incapacitated. So any more focus on him at this juncture probably could not in any way lead to an indictment or an arrest, or for sure a prosecution.
And
because
he did say in the last interview that he thought that this case was solvable, but it was never going to be able to be tried, which would mean closed. So I'm pretty sure he thinks it's John.
He just would be unable to aid in his own defense.
Do you remain the only person to ever interview him about this case?
Yes, that's true. I would have thought that someone would have gotten to him and convinced him in the 24 years prior to my showing up on his doorstep several times 5 years ago, but no one had, and no one has since. So at this juncture, the 11 hours of my interview, which I have pretty detailed notes, and it does include some recordings, because I did visit him on multiple locations, multiple times, and I do also have some video recordings with him that I have preserved, and for the time being, they'll all remain private and confidential. We'll see if eventually I can share those.
You talk about the discovery of a secret boyfriend. What role do you believe the secret boyfriend you discovered played in this case?
Well, I think it's pretty significant. I actually think it was probably the catalyst, if you will, for the timing of the abduction. Put simply, Jodi met this gentleman on Saturday evening, 2 Saturdays before her disappearance, and she had almost daily contact with him. She definitely went out on dates. She did go drinking with him at his residence. She parked her car in his garage. She played golf with him. She went out to dinner. So it was a fast and furious, I guess, final fling. She would not have known that at the time, but that 10-day period, they had tremendous amount of contact. And this knowledge was kept from even her closest friends. But I do know that the information did leak out to at least one person.
It sounds like my question has been answered. He was the catalyst, not the one who actually did it. So, yeah, pretty sure that this guy is saying that it's Jono that did it. Hey, Cowboy RC, how are you?
And so that, I believe, was ultimately the motive for a confrontation that would have occurred in the parking lot at her Key Apartments eventually.
And you say you have narrowed the list of suspects down to 4 people. How did you do that?
Well, it's been a painstaking process over the course of 5 years. I started with a very broad net. I actually just, since my interview on News Nation the other day, I went back and looked, and there were actually 29 people that I felt like might have had motive or means or opportunity that I felt needed to be explored. And I was able to eliminate all but 4 of those. I still do have 4 people very much on my radar, but I also have them in a rank order. And while I am not disclosing, who they are, any of them, or the rank order, I'm 100% certain that I do have the killer, Jodi's killer, or at least abductor, on my list.
And what is your theory as to what led to Jodi Huisentruit's abduction?
I think it was jealousy. I think plain and simply, things came to a head, given the fact that she had developed this new relationship, which seemed to be a really nice budding relationship. I went and met with this gentleman. He's from out of state, but I talked him into meeting, and we sat down and talked things over, and he said that he just really fell for Jodi, and he was, hopeful that it was going to go somewhere, and that they stayed in close touch. She took the weekend to go on that skiing trip, and then she had obligations at work and had the golf tournament to play in. But he hoped to pick up on the other side of all of that, and really felt as though it was going somewhere.
Why is finding Jodi's remains still so critical?
Well, essentially, we have a circumstantial case at best. And if we had the remains, I can almost guarantee that eventually we would establish links to one of the 4 people who I have on my list by virtue of the location, the means by which the body or the remains were disposed of. I'm certain that authorities would be able to make a prosecutorial case if they could find the remains.
Have you shared all the information you have and your suspicions with police? And do you believe that authorities are doing enough?
Well, I hate to second guess authorities. I think they're in a very tough position. This is not their only case either. They constantly, have other things developing. I wish that they had a more public profile and maybe were more forthcoming, because I think the community has a lot of questions. And I think going clear back to the original police chief, this is 5-6 police chiefs ago, Chief Sliper, it was his wife that leaked, Jodi's 80-some page diary to the local newspaper. That does not inspire confidence in the community. And it really raises questions about what was going on in the police department back then. So I think the more transparent the police department could be, the better it would be for the community and for the case in general.
Yeah, Steve Ridge, I know you've dedicated yourself to this case for years. I really appreciate you taking the time tonight. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
So it does sound like it was a jealousy type, if you're to believe what this reporter said. We had gone in the very beginning, and there was this convicted R-word rapper that was convicted of it or accused of it. I do want to take a quick look at him and the news report saying with him denying it.
He was arrested in February of Tony Dewan Jackson. 21 at the time, Jackson worked in Mason City and lived near the station where Jodi worked. Jackson's current address is Oak Park Heights, a maximum security prison in Minnesota. He was arrested in February of 1998 for 4 rapes in the Twin Cities area. He's currently serving a 40-year sentence for statutory rape. It was a rap song that he had penned in the winter of 1999 that drew law enforcement attention to Jackson. In Jackson's rap, the phrase "stiffin' in tiffin" seemed to allude to the Huisentruit case. The discovery of the song's lyrics led lawmen to farmer Doug Campbell, who directed authorities to an old silo in Tiffin, Iowa.
Well, one day, Johnson County Deputy Mike Sheets stopped out, and he read me this rap that he came up with somewhere. As I understand it, it came from somebody who was in prison. Then he started asking questions about what place around here might fit into some of the lines in the rap. I thought a minute, and I said, well, yeah, 3/4 of a mile north of here, there's a silo on a abandoned farmstead.
Deputy Mike Sheets, the sheriff's office, and many other agencies searched an abandoned silo up the road, looking for any clues of Jodi.
I heard after the search that there was, 2 or 3 dogs, and one of them acted like she was there, and the other 2 didn't.
Doug was quite amazed that 6 News first found him to get his story.
You guys are about the first ones to know that Mike was actually here, and I don't exactly know how you got a hold of me, but
did the police search turn up any clues? Nothing that would link the crime to Jackson.
Again, we investigated him, went back and went over what he was doing the day before and day of and that sort of thing. And it's to me, it's very unlikely that he's involved.
So who was? This highly visible, unsolved case shattered the innocence of an entire region.
Rural Iowa has changed. I mean, it used to be one of the safest places there was. And now it kind of we're starting to see some of the worst in people.
It's always, this aspect of the case always interested me, but it looks like it's just some rapper doing whatever. So convicted R-word speaks out from prison, denies connection to decades-old case. He served 23 years of a life sentence after being convicted in 1998, 1999 of first-degree criminal ex-conduct, kidnapping, and first-degree burglary in the Minneapolis area, but questions about the unsolved disappearance of a local TV anchor continues to follow him. 3 years before Jackson was convicted, local television anchor Jodi disappeared from Mason City, Iowa, where Jackson lived at the time. People familiar with our cases wondered if Jackson should be investigated in relation to Huisentruit. For over 2 decades, he has steadfastly denied any connection to her disappearance. All that I can tell you about Jodi Huisentruit is that she has become a central part of my life since I've been incarcerated, Jackson told 2020 in a 2021 interview from the Minnesota Correctional Facility in Stillwater. It's been something that I've been for many years hoping will be resolved so that the stigma can be taken away from me so that I can rest. Watch the full story on 2020 tonight. In 1995, Huisentruit was 27-year-old. Okay, it just goes in to talk about it. Jackson said the crimes are unrelated. It's unfortunate that people try to take our word and schmurder and put it all together as one big heinous act and say that if you had did this, you would have done this, said Jackson. I don't think that's a big leap at all, because often those type of things lead to one another. So, according to a local news report, a jail informant named Dennis Golf said he had briefly served time with Jackson while Jackson was awaiting trial for the 1997 grapes. Golf claimed he gained Jackson's confidence and that Jackson told him he had unalived an anchor woman and had allegedly recited a rap with lyrics that might lead to where Huisentruit's body might be found. The lyrics allegedly suggested that Huisentruit's body was in Tiffin, Iowa, which is about a 2.5-hour drive from Mason City. It was uncovered that Jackson had bought a car that day before Huisentruit went missing, but Jackson has repeatedly denied all allegations surrounding his alleged conversation with Golf and the rap lyrics. I'm telling you right now, I've never been to Tiffin, Iowa, never traveled to Tiffin, Iowa, said Jackson. I would imagine that Tiffin, Iowa is pretty much kind of like all of the other small towns in Iowa. There, if a black man introduced himself in Tiffin, Iowa, somebody would remember that. After tip, a Tiffin, Iowa silo was searched with cadaver dogs in 1998, but the canines did not find any sign of human remains. In 1999, police officers cleared Jackson in relation to the disappearance of Huisentruit. So it looks like this was just nothing. Which I'm glad I'm finding this out, because it's always kind of rented space in my head about all of it. There is going to be a Hulu docuseries about this case. ABC News Studios tackles the 30-year disappearance of news anchor Jodi Huisentruit as part of its next true crime docuseries slate on on Hulu exclusive. It's been 30 years since Iowa-based TV news anchor, part of a suite of three new true crime programs. So ABC News Studio is revisiting that unsolved mystery with the Hulu docuseries Her Last Broadcast, The Abduction of Jodi Huisentruit. Part of a suite of 3 new true crime programs it has scheduled for next month. Also on tap, Trophy Wife, Schmurder on Safari, which premieres July 21st, and Mr. and Miss Schmurder starting July 30th. Huisentruit disappeared in June 1995. And since then, her news desk at Iowa's KIM TV remains untouched. The 3-part Her Last Broadcast, The Abduction of Jodi Huisentruit series will look at how a 2020 episode sparked a tip from one of Huisentruit's close friends, re-energizing the case in the wake of Mason City, Iowa. Oh, this is exciting. Police revealing a new clue. The docuseries looks at the case law enforcement's team as they follow new leads, conduct new interviews, and uncover new persons of interest. The series promises never-before-seen material and new groundbreaking information. Commits Films and ABC News Studios produce Her Last Broadcast, The Abduction of Jodi Huisentruit for Hulu. Marie Oz and Andy Oz are executive producers. As for Trophy Wife, Schmurder on the Safari, the 3-part docuseries looks at the mysterious death of Bianca Rudolph on an African hunting trip. This actually sounds interesting. Accused is wealthy Pittsburgh area dentist Larry Rudolph, who had been in a long-running affair with his dental. Oh, I think I remember this one. Dental hygienist Lori Milleron. After Bianca Rudolph's death was initially ruled an accident, investigators found more affairs and fraud in Larry Rudolph's past. And he and Milron were eventually convicted. Trophy Wife. Let's see if it says anything else. What's this? Then there was the 4-part Mr. and Miss Schmurder, which looks at the death of Mike Williams in Florida. This could be a Florida man case for us to watch on Fridays. His friend Kathy Winchester reveals for the first time how she uncovered the truth about William's disappearance, including going undercover in a tense sting operation to secretly record her ex-husband, Brian. The story starts with two close-knit couples in Tallahassee, Florida, Kathy and Brian Winchester, and their childhood friends. Oh, I think didn't they have an affair? On December 16th, 2000, their world turned upside down when Mike vanished during. Oh yes, they said it was a two couple thing, and one of the wife and the best friend were having an affair. I remember that one. Okay, so that's we'll be keeping our eye out for that. Here is a timeline. Jodi Huisentruit disappeared 30 years ago. Timeline. Here is the timeline. Huisentruit never showed for her shift as a morning news anchor. Police found signs of a struggle and believe she was abducted. A private investigator believes there are 4 suspects. So June 26, 1995, Jodi Huisentruit's last known movements came the day before she disappeared in the morning. She worked on the morning and noon shows at KIM TV in Mason City, Iowa as an anchor and producer. On June 27th at 4 a.m., when Huisentruit didn't show up at work at her usual 3 a.m. start time, producer Amy Coons called and woke her up. She said Huisentruit sounded okay on the phone. So and then she never showed up. July 3rd, 1995, police call off searches for Huisentruit, but continue work on the case, which is being treated as an abduction. September 1995, Huisentruit's family hired private investigator and appeared on national television to try to make progress on the case. May 2001, family pushing for change after a woman was unalived in a Taco Bell drive-thru. March 17th, 2017, police execute a search warrant on Van Cise, from whom they identified as a person of interest. October 2024, police search a construction site in rural Minnesota after a tip. November 2024, private investigator Steve Ridge, who has been working on the case since 2019, said in interviews that Huisentruit had a new boyfriend at the time of the disappearance who was questioned and cleared by police. Ridge said he believes jealousy played a role. December 2024, John Van Cise. Oh, he died. Okay, so Van Cise is dead. April 30th, 2025, police unseal part of the search warrant for Van Cise, which reveals police tracked his vehicles from Iowa to his new home in Arizona. So that makes sense that now we're getting the Hulu series. Makes complete and utter sense. To me, at least. Does it not to you? Here is the judge unseals portion of search warrant in Jodi Huisentruit's case. An Iowa judge has released a portion of a 2017 search warrant which showed GPS tracking data of a car owned by a person of interest in the Jodi Huisentruit case. Huisentruit was working as a news anchor in Mason City, Iowa when she disappeared. The partially unsealed warrant applied to a GPS device which was placed in a 1999 Honda Civic and 2013 GMC pickup truck, which was owned by Huisentruit's friend, who was a person of interest in her case. The person of interest was with Huisentruit the night before she disappeared. He died on December of last year. Attorneys argue from the warrant to be unsealed to provide closure to the family. The data tracks the vehicle during a 4-day span as it traveled from Baxter, Iowa through Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, and New Mexico before it came to a stop in Phoenix. According to a 48 hours report, the man was living in Phoenix in 2017. Other details of the warrant remain sealed as the investigation continued. For more than a decade, journalists and retired law enforcement involved with the group Find Jodi have asked anyone with information to come forward after the 48-hour report aired in 2019. Tips poured into the Mason City Police Department. So, here is the website Find Jodi. I will put this down in the show notes if you want to go over, if you have any, any tips on the case, or you want to read more about it, there is that. And finally, I thought, I'm a very interested person on inside homes and buildings. I loved going into the Watts house and looking in on the Watts house. And when I covered the Sarah Boone, a news reporter went in and they went into the Sarah Boone apartment. Here's a quick 54-second clip on looking inside Jodi Huisentruit's apartment. Sorry, the lawn people are starting to mow, so if you hear the mower, I can't do much about it. I do apologize, though. I can do that. I can apologize. So here is a peek inside Jodi's apartment.
I mean, clearly this is a woman that was just headed out to work. Likes hats. There's apparently a message for her on the answering machine. Probably a lot. For people that might not know what's going on. This is clearly a very active young woman, as everyone has told us.
Did you see that picture of Oprah right there? It's clear that this was an apartment where she just landed to sleep in. Like she was a very active woman. She wasn't spending any time like watching TV or doing much other than, winding down or doing some of her last minute news reports, because see, there's Oprah. And there's quite a few toothbrushes there. There's what, 3? That's a little different. So that is Jodi Huisentruit.
Welcome back to Daybreak.
What do you guys think? Are you thinking the same thing I am, that it was the old man, John, that got a little jealous over her getting a man her own age and developing a budding relationship, which is so sad. It's a woman's worst nightmare, being kidnapped or attacked, and a man feeling like they have that ownership over you. It's really sad and really scary. But I do want to look more into John. I want to look more into this case. Let me know if you enjoyed the Jodi. I don't know why all of a sudden I'm calling her Judy. The Jodi Huisentruit case. Had you heard about it? What did you think? Did you think it was John? Who did you think it was that actually did this? Like, now I'm 99% sure that it was actually the most obvious person who I said it couldn't be the most obvious, but sometimes it is the most obvious. Yeah, John was obsessed and jealous. So, and he's maybe like karma did do him in, because, oops, have you come in to put in your 2 tweets? What do you think? Do you think John did it, Junie? Yeah, baby, I think he did. What? No, we're not. Oh, yes. He thinks John did it too. Yeah, thank you, buddy. Okay, guys, I'm going to head out because he wants to do some tweet tweening, and we're going to go do some tweet tweening because he was a good boy the whole time. Yep, Junie was a good boy. He's my baby. Do you want to say goodbye to everybody? Huh? Can you say bye-bye, babies? You coming up to say anything? What you got to say? Huh? No, don't bite it. You can't bite it. All right. All right, guys, we're going to go. Be sure to give this live a thumbs up. Helps us go out into the algorithm. If nobody's told you this today, and even if they have, I'm still going to tell you guys this. I love you guys so, so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.
I miss my cue, baby, I had you. Miss my cue, but I had you for that day. Here in the blue, I'm falling deep.
Be sure to give this live a thumbs up. Helps me go out into the algorithm party out there. Bring more people back to the party. It's just a free way to help me.
Baby, I'm dancing with you tonight, and it feels fine, feels fine. Baby, I'm dancing with you tonight. Here in the blue, I'm dancing and falling out, hoping for some time with you.